Hello, this is Lark Lowe, and we're on Black Kids in Outer Space. I'm actually going back home today. I'm talking to Ade from Los Angeles. He
Yes.
runs the Ride On Bike Shop. He has a master's in art in urban sustainability and an undergraduate in community development, both from Antioch University, which is
Hmm.
kind of like it has sustainability, urban planning, and it also has the art component as a lead in the Great Streets project in South Los Angeles, which I was very happy the area that got picked for it. He
Yeah.
was responsible for the team's crowdfunding campaign in which they surpassed Ade's goal and has been a strong leader and responsible for conducting and organizing and supporting his various programs like Ride On, which is his co-op bike shop, Streets Beats, CivLavia, South LA Pit Shop, and the International Capoeira Angola Conference. So you've had 18 years experience developing all kinds of programs in South LA. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming here and
Thank you so much for having me.
yes, yes. I mean, I want to know, because when I was in Los Angeles, maybe like 3 years ago or so,
Hmm.
I don't know, like you guys were kind of just getting off the ground. So tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about Ride On. Let us know about that. What's going on with that?
So right on. So when I went back to get my master's in at Antioch, I didn't have a car. So for the whole period of time, and probably like around 6, 7 years, I just rode a bike all around the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like what I was doing because it was less expensive. And but I also noticed the lack of proper infrastructure within South LA, and just going from there to Culver City and going all over the city by either taking my bike on the bus and the train or riding all the way to where I needed to go, depending on how far. And I just saw the lack of equity um, with regards to the transportation system. Oh, and while I'm getting my master's, I'm also talking about social justice, right? And Antioch is really big on that. So it would be conversations that I brought up all the time. And when I needed to fix my bike, I'd have to go 8 miles out to a
Mm-hmm.
co-op to fix it because there was nothing like that in where I was at in South LA. And but I really was bringing that up all the time to folks just so somebody else could do it, because what I wanted to do was to travel the world, do water infrastructure project in West Africa, and go back to Haiti and do some projects, community development and stuff like that. So I'd be like, yo, we need a bike co-op in South LA. I said, yeah, that's
Yo,
a good idea. And but everybody was like, well, yeah, you should do it. I was like, no, I want to go someplace else. I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Haiti. I want to travel. Somebody else should do it. But as I was working on my final project to graduate, my capstone, my water infrastructure project wasn't coming together for various reasons. And one of my advisors was like, well, why don't you do this bike thing that you're always talking about? So like literally maybe 2 to 3 months before graduating, I put the project together. But I had something in mind all the time, was that whatever project that I presented as a capstone had to be a living project. It had to be something that was in effect. So I guess within the last year or so of graduating, I had gotten a group of friends together that I rode with occasionally to be like, look, let's just start tuning people's bikes for them like on a weekend, like once a month. And then on busy months, we would do it twice a month. And that just started picking up. I became known as the bike guy. And then one thing led to another. I was able to get a space in Leimert Park on Degnan. I couldn't
that
turn that down. I had to like,
well, let me say, people who are not from LA, you have to understand that that is like that's you just don't get a spot on Degnan on in Leimert Park. That's a not only
mhm.
that it's very hard to get. Somebody got to die. Did somebody die?
Right, no.
But go ahead, go ahead.
It was just like just things were coming. Actually, a police officer knew the work that I was doing with bicycles,
Yeah.
and he mentioned to me, he was like, "Well, you should talk to this guy who has a shop because he knows the landlord. Maybe he can introduce you to the landlord, and you can get a space." So I went and introduced myself to the gentleman, and he was like, "Okay, I could do that." So he did the introduction, but the landlord didn't have a space for me. The space that I thought I was gonna get ended
Mm-hmm.
up not opening up, and the brother that had the shop, it was a fabric store in Limerick, and we would talk occasionally. and but he had gotten a stroke. He had stroke, and his health was waning, and that kind of a thing, right? But I would talk to him about this bike thing, and he had a bike, and I got him back on a bike and stuff like that. So we would talk about soccer, and people would come looking for me, looking for the bike guy. So I think he started seeing that there was something there that was happening. So, and I approached him about leaving my tools in his shop. It didn't work. He wasn't willing to do that. But then a year later, it was like he wanted to kind of partner with me to help me get this thing happening. So that's how I was able to actually get the space that I'm in. Was partnering with Fidel.
Well, I'm glad that you actually decided to have one in Leimert Park. I mean, and the fact that you drove your bike from Leimert Park to Culver City is amazing. I mean, because that's a very long distance, and riding your bike in Los Angeles is not the same as riding your bike on the East Coast. There's lots of hills. There's lots of hills, and there's lots of cars.
Well,
and
driving in LA isn't the same as driving in the East. You can drive for 3 hours on the East Coast and be in 3 different states. You drive 3 hours in LA, you're still in LA. It's like... That's
what I tell people. I'm like, when they're like, "Oh, we're going to go to Philadelphia today," and I'm like, "Oh, should I get a bag?" They're like, "No, it's just on the way. It's it's no big deal." I mean, but LA has really changed in regards to, we have a co-op, we have a subway. I mean, it kind of works. It kind of works. I know in 2019, the subway is supposed to open in Leimert Park. I mean, are you excited about that? What are your feelings about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it. I think the community, first, that station wasn't planned for Leimert Park, right?
Yeah.
And it was the community that was like, yo, hold up. You're putting a train going down Crenshaw, and the one place, Leimert Park, that people come, it's the hub.
Yes.
At least certainly in the 90s when Fifth Street Dicks, Dance Collective, there was a lot of businesses that was like the central hub. And it was like the arts hub of LA, right?
Yeah.
But there's no train stop there, which was crazy. So the community actually really pushed to have a stop there. So that stop is very close to the other stop that's on Crenshaw in Martin Luther King Boulevard, because there's a stop at the mall and then it's like maybe a mile, if a mile, there's a stop in Leimert Park. And so I'm looking forward to that, because we're actually literally feet, maybe 100 and a couple of feet away from where the station is gonna be. And as it is right now, there's no bicycle hubs or that conversation happening. So we're still having that conversation with Metro. What we're proposing is to be that the source, the bike hub, and the bike mechanics, and the hub for that area.
No, because we need a hub. I mean, I think that's something, pretty much if you're Black and you're in Los Angeles, you probably live along Crenshaw Boulevard. That's kind of like the street, regardless. Right. Well, at least if you live on the west side, of South Central or the west side of South LA, which is very complicated. If you're not from there, don't worry about it. But most Black people who live along Crenshaw Boulevard, and we don't have a bicycle kind of hub for the Black part of Los Angeles. So I think that's, that's great, and the fact that Metro's working with you, because I know at one point it was a consent decree, I guess around the 90s to 2006, because they were putting all their money into the wealthier, whiter sections and kind of disregarding the African American, Latino sections of town. So they're working with you better now, or?
So, as always, we have to make our way into the spaces that we're not generally in, right? And so I was able to navigate my way into some spaces. And so I've worked with Metro on a couple of projects, one of which we just finished, and the report will be out really soon, is along the Blue Line. So from downtown to Long Beach, that Blue Line is the oldest rail station in LA, right? It was the first one built. But it was built through communities, not really with those communities in mind, right? So, and so we did a study of myself and a couple of other local community organizations, got with Metro. We did a study on the stations and how we think they would be improved, and we got community input, and we presented that to Metro. So they're looking at that and using that to upgrade those stations. Right. And they're also looking at how to do that work in the future, having community and grassroots folks involved in that conversation, right?
That's
So,
wonderful. That's wonderful, because at one point it was like one of the most dangerous
right.
trains in America. So the fact that you're
Yes.
doing that work now,
Yeah.
it's just like, yay, great job.
Thanks. Thanks.
Because it's
Yeah.
like, it's important, especially now, with Vision Zero.
Right.
You
Right.
have the Great Streets program that, the Great Streets program, which I think is a wonderful program.
Right.
And I know that around Hyde Park area kind of got the Great Streets
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
So the Great Streets is a project that the mayor of Los Angeles designated certain areas to be great streets, and what it encouraged folks to do is to like get community organizations and community input and have them visualize what a great street would look like in their community, and present some ideas and see if the city can actually get resources to actually make those things happen. So in Hyde Park on Crenshaw and Florence, that was the intersection that the group that I was involved with, we were responsible for, and so we named it Street Beats. And so what we did with Street Beats is we turned that intersection into a musical instrument, right? So you could actually be on one corner waiting for the light to change. We installed iPads at each pole so you could actually make beats with the person across the way from you, just as a way to interact and have fun. But also what we did to address the issues, because that's a dangerous intersection, right?
Yes.
So we shortened the sidewalks by bulbing out the sidewalks, making the distance shorter to cross. And we also implemented a scramble walk. So you could walk in any direction. So traffic stops, you walk in any direction. So
I need a video of that. I need to see that. That's great.
Yeah. There's like in my email signature, there's like a link to the video. So definitely I'll send it to you so you can check it out. So that was some of the things that the community said they thought they would like to see in their community to make it safer for them when they're crossing that particular intersection. So we did that, and we made it fun. We had DJs out there. We had a friend come out. She has a thing that she does. She brings out double dutch and all kinds of like fun games for people. So we made it interactive. We made it like music oriented. We made it fun, as we actually slowed traffic down to interact with the drivers as well, right? Because one of my pet peeves is that when we talk about safe streets, when we talk about all these crashes, it's always about the pedestrians and the cyclists getting educated. But nobody ever talks about how we need to focus on the drivers, which are the ones that are causing we're the victims, right? If we're on a bicycle and you're walking, you're always the victim. You're never, and you're the one that gets hurt. The people in the cars, they run off all the time. So it was an opportunity for us to actually slow down traffic so that we can actually engage with people that were in cars, So that's the kind of projects that I'm looking into doing now. So this year I have a contract with the Department of Transportation, and it's around the Vision Zero and how we can actually do some outreach and education around that idea of Vision Zero and what it is and how we see it within our community and how it functions for us, right? And because part of the things about Vision Zero is education, but also enforcement, right? But what does enforcement mean for us in the Black and Brown communities when we already have issues with the police? Why would we want the police to be responsible to enforce, safety for us? We're never safe around them, right? So, excited to look into that and having that conversation around that, and
But also too, I guess the infrastructure and education as opposed to the enforcement part of it, which Bayou Reed has been kind of talking a lot about that in Chicago. I don't know if you probably know him because he went to the untokening in Los Angeles.
So the untokening took place in my shop too.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know. It did?
Yeah,
it did?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got to kick with old boy and everything. Yeah, it was cool.
Okay. So you know all about that, and I'm glad you guys are kind of like, you guys all know each other, so it's kind of like we can all, because I think in a way it's really good if this is kind of a national type thing, like, hey, Vision Zero is national, but it's really great if the component in regards to equity and social justice was also kind of like we're all on the same page. Like you go
Right.
to LA, you go to Chicago, you go to New York, you go to New Jersey. Vision Zero is going to be infrastructure and education. That's what we're going to have the emphasis be on. So
Right.
that is
Right.
great. So so is your shop kind of like the shop that people go to do equity bicycle related things?
Yes, it's that, and you get to fix your bike too. But
Yes.
so for me, it was always this thing where, like, yeah, I wanted to have a bicycle co-op. That's what this whole thing was about, right? It's like we need a co-op in this community, and but also understanding that as I'm advocating for better bicycle infrastructure, I understand what it means to have black bodies in public spaces, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not safe, and so all the while that I'm thinking about it and talking to folks about, yeah, we need to get you on a bike. You need to get on a bike. I'm like, oh, I remember, like, I know I've been I fit the description many times when I was on a bicycle, just going from point A to point B. It's like, oh, you fit the description. Oh, yeah, okay, really, And funny enough, I've not had those experiences in Boston.
Yeah, you're from Boston
I'm
originally.
from Boston, and people tell me how racist Boston is all the time, and it is. But I did not have the problems that I have in LA. And Boston was my teenage years, so if I was gonna have any problems with the police, it would
Yeah.
have been at that time,
Yeah.
because that's when I was doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like riding my bike from Paramount Studios to the beach, and it's like, yo, you fit the description, dude. But yeah, so just understanding that conversation, how to deal with that. So we had to talk about equity, we had to talk about social justice, and we had to get with people that's doing that work, that's having that conversation. So a lot of the organizations that I deal with, that's what they do. I mean, we give out, we partner with the Bicycle Coalition and other community organizations, and we give out lights.
Mm-hmm.
When the time changes, when it gets dark early. So,
Mm-hmm.
we do stuff like that. And then there's organizations like the Untokening looking for a space to have, a gathering.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is the place you can actually do that. You come through and have that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the folks that are doing this type of work are people that I've actually been connecting with and are friends and colleagues with. So it's a easy partnership, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I mean it is an easy partnership. But I think the thing, I mean, somebody did make a comment on here, and they were like, "It's great that you're doing the work. It's kind of like making it, because it's always the car's fault, because it's like
Right.
the streets are made for people. It's always the
Right.
car's fault." Kind of
Right.
like going back to that, and I think, but also too, I think we need to always. To me, you can't talk about transportation without talking about race. You can't talk about transportation
Right.
without talking about equity, because so much of the history of walking, and especially with Black people,
That's
and
what it is.
we couldn't walk around. We need to
Right.
have a permit. We need to.
Right.
I think that maybe
Right.
the issues that you're having in Los Angeles, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're kind of going through this period of gentrification. So
Mm-hmm.
neighborhoods where it used to be, oh, it's okay, we don't care if you walk through it, now it's becoming like this kind of like hyper, like
Right.
policing over policing that's happening because of the gentrification. Do you think that might
Oh,
be a problem?
oh, yeah. That's that definitely an issue. Like, in the Black communities, the folks that are, all there, and like they have space too. They're cool. We know how to work with them, right?
Yeah.
So the guy that walks up and down the street all the time, that's just like talking to himself and yelling, but he walks that same path every day. So if you've been in that neighborhood, him. Oh, yeah, that's Mr. Stone. So that's what he do. He's not all there.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
new folks coming in the neighborhood, as soon as he walked down the street, they want to call the police, because this guy, he's crazy and he's carrying a gun, or he just might have a piece of paper or his wallet or phone in his hand. But for them, it's a gun. So then, I think not too long ago, there was an incident like that happened, and somebody got hurt because somebody called the police on somebody that was just like always in the neighborhood, but for them it was dangerous. Yeah.
That's what happened in Brooklyn just recently. A brother got, which was shot because he had a pipe in his hand, and the
Right.
police said, "Oh, it was a gun." Oh, they all think it's a
Right.
gun. They shot him, and it's like, everybody in the neighborhood's like, we all knew who he was. Who called? Who called the police? I mean,
Right.
we do a lot of times we want to go to the police, but also what? A person online saying it was a shower head. But the thing is that who calls the police? We can't just let it be like, oh, it's always the police's fault. I'm not that I'm like a big fan of the police department, but who the police work for?
Right.
Who did the police, who called them? And I think that's kind of like sharing our streets, now that we're going to have like a train station, we're going to have different people coming in the neighborhood. Can we all respect each other?
Right. Right.
So I mean, that's not really a question. I'll be asking you questions. but it's like.
But that's part of the work that we have to do, right? Figure out what that's going to look like.
Yeah, right? We got to figure out what's it going to look like, and what's, even with Vision Zero, like what is that going to look like, and and what can we. I know we're talking about redeveloping the mall,
the Crenshaw Mall,
the Crenshaw Plaza, Baldwin Hill Plaza. Are they going to change the name again? I don't know. Like the Fox Hills, Westfield.
Right.
I mean,
everybody I know still calls it Fox Hills. Nobody calls it.
Yeah, no, West Hills Mall. Yeah. A lot of people still go there. You can change the name all you want. We're still going. But with the Baldwin Hills Mall, a part of me is kind of like, kind of excited because, they're having all this development, because I think people think Black neighborhood, they think poor.
Right.
Leimert Park, Baldwin Hills, these are well-to-do Black neighborhoods.
Right. And that's the thing, right? So, and that's part of the conversation that I've had with folks, right, about like Leimert Park in the mall. Leimert Park, the majority of the landowners in Leimert Park right now is Black. Mm-hmm. Right.
Good to know.
And I'm talking, and not just like as far as homes, right? I'm talking like the like on Degnan, most of that is owned by Mark Bradford or his organization, right? It was a Black artist that had a shop. His mother had a shop in Leimert Park. He made some money, came back and bought up properties that he could buy up. And
he's a slightly gigantic artist also.
Yeah. He's big time. But, and also the mall, and I think it's like, Black people can have nice things. Yeah. We should have nice things. We should be able to build up our community. And the only thing is, it's like, can we be equitable with that, right? Can we not displace people as we build up this thing, right? Yeah. As we build up the mall, I want to see a beautiful mall too. I'd like to, get some nice stuff up in there, some new stuff, change the look a bit, But can we not displace folks as that's happening?
Can we respect the artists and the people who have been there, who have been making the community?
Right. Because once the artists go, it's not going to be the same. And already it's not the same because quite a few of the artists that were there before have already left, right? Some years ago. And then there was like nothing happening in Leimert Park. Even the festivals that it was known for had kind of like took a dive, right? They weren't happening anymore and people weren't coming out for them, right? So we're really now trying to get that back going and also define what that looks like, making it like reflect the community that it's in. Because I tell folks, I like going to Chinatown. I like to go to Little Tokyo. I like to go to Little Italy, you know? So I want to be able to Leimert Park and have it reflect the community that's there, that's historically been there, which is a Black cultural community with artists that express itself. And, anybody can come to it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we should be able to have a community where we express our culture.
Maybe we should rename it. Maybe name it Little Africa or something.
People are trying to rename it. And, there's folks that have been passing that out. And for me, it's like, you know what? Harlem didn't have to change its name. Everybody knows Harlem for what it is, but it wasn't originally what it is. It's like wherever Black people made something happen, it wasn't there before. It was white folks that was there before. Yeah. Right? Yeah, we come into Harlem, we put that flavor in it, and it's like Harlem is Harlem now. It's like completely turned around. So Leimert Park could be the same thing. I think because like my thing is, it's like that takes energy, right? To change the name into all this. No, let's take the energy to actually brand it how we want it to be, right? Mm-hmm. And then the name can come later, But that's just like my own personal little spiel on that. I think
And just
that's bad work.
And just to wrap it up, because we're going to close out. And actually, you've said so many things. I had so many questions I was going to ask you, and the conversation went really fast. Now, if you could turn Leimert, like, what do you think? I mean, how can we make Leimert Park into Wakanda, or is it already that? Like, I mean, you saw Black Panther, right?
Yes, yeah, a few times.
How did it inspire you? And do you mean has it inspired you in doing anything in regards to urban planning or bicycling in Los Angeles?
Yo, I think one of the most inspirational parts for me in Black Panther was when they went back to Oakland at the end of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Yo, this is where our uncle got killed and whatever." It's like, "Oh, they're gonna knock down that building." It's like, no, they're not gonna knock it down. Oh no, no, because I bought that building, and I bought that building, and I bought that building, and this is gonna be a cultural center. This is gonna be a science center. You're gonna be, unfortunately, that's what we need to do, and we need to get with the folks that have the money, that have the vision.
And you have the money out there in LA. You have the money.
The money's out there.
You do not have to. LA, Leimert Park, South LA, South Central, none of that has to go away. There is money there. Right. There's Black money there to support that. I'm sorry, I got too excited.
Yeah. So, and I think that's what we need to do is, to buy up the properties when we can. And, I'm really into land trusts and stuff like that. So I work with organizations that have been doing that. Trust South LA is one of those organizations in LA that do that. And they actually have a piece of property on Slauson that they're developing for affordable housing, But yeah, so that's the kind of thing we need to do. Boston's known for doing that in Roxbury, like getting land in the community, controlling the land and making it affordable housing for folks.
Yeah. And that's what some person said on here, because people making comments are like, you don't have to tear things down to make them better. But what can we do to support you, Ade? What can we do to support Ride on Bike Co-op? What can we do to help you out?
So, right now I'm actually doing a fundraiser. We got a couple funds, thousands, not too much, that we're trying to raise.
Yeah.
And we have a GoFundMe page that's going on right now. We're doing a lot of things. We have a youth cycling team that we just started, so we need to get some more kits and stuff like that for them. We have the shop that needs more tools and stuff. We need to make the landlord happy by catching up on our rent, But yeah, so if they can support in that way, we have T-shirts. This is a Fela shirt. Actually, I put Fela holding up a bike.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me do this really quick. Let me do this. Okay. All right. Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So we have those shirts for sales, and we have a couple other shirts designs on sale, and that's on our website. So you can support by just purchasing a shirt.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm going to put the website and everything. I'll edit this and put everything on the website, put everything on everything, so people can kind of have information on how to support you. Mm-hmm. But thank you so much, Ade, for your work in Los Angeles, for sitting down with us, and also for having the most awesome album collection behind you.
Yo, you see that, right?
I was like, I need me some cool albums behind me.
That's just a piece of it. I got a whole wall of it.
Yeah, a whole wall. Yeah. So thank everybody for watching. This is Black Kids in Outer Space. We're actually going to be on next week. We're going to be interviewing Civic Bikes in Atlanta. So we're going to Chocolate City.
Word.
So yeah. So but thank you.
Those are my friends out there too.
Okay, well I'm gonna tell them. All right. Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Black kids in outer space. Black kids in outer space. Black kids in outer space. Urban planning, walking, bicycling, and more in our space.